Greetings. Warm blessings in this Christmas season. My dear sisters and brothers, and my dear friends, this is your Pastor Yeti. Ending week 4, it's Friday. I'm going to talk about the preparations for Jesus' death. Matthew 26, the verses 1 to 13. So this is how it finally happened. When Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said to his disciples, "In 2 days' time, as you know, it'll be Passover. That's when the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified." Then the chief priests got together with the elders of the people in the official residence of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas. They plotted how to capture Jesus by some trick and kill him. "We'd better not try anything at the feast," they said. "We don't want the people to riot." While Jesus was at Bethany in the house of Simon, known as the leper, a woman came to him who had an alabaster vase of extremely valuable ointment. She poured it on his head as he was reclining at the table. When the disciples saw it, they were furious. "What's the point of all this waste?" they said. "They could have been sold for a fortune, and the money could have been given to the poor." Excuse me. Jesus knew what they were thinking. "Why make life difficult for this woman?" he said. "It's a lovely thing what she's done for me. You always have the poor with you, don't you? But you won't have always me." "When she poured this ointment on my body, you see, she did it to prepare me for my burial. I'm telling you the truth. Wherever this gospel is announced in all the world, what she has just done will be told, and people will remember her." We have walked at a steady pace through the hills and valleys of the story. We have sat down to hear Jesus deliver another parable or discourse. We have marched with him along the road, enjoying the sunshine of the early days in Galilee and the remarkable views as the disciples gradually realized more of what the kingdom was about. We have arrived in Jerusalem and watched dramatic events unfold. But we are now standing in front of a sheer wall of rock. And if we don't find it both compelling and terrifying, we haven't got the right spectacle on. The death of Jesus of Nazareth is one of the most famous and formative events in human history. There is a lot to be said before you begin to study it line by line for further running your eyes right off the wall of rock, for reading the next 2 chapters through at a single sitting, with the door shut and the telephone turned off. Allow the whole thing to make its proper impact on you. The way Matthew has told it, the story is dizzying. Instead of gentle mountain slope that might have been there, Jesus, after confronting the authorities, going off back to Galilee to talk of the birds of the sky and the lilies of the field, to teach people to pray, to become a venerable old prophet with a long gray beard. It is as though a giant has sliced through the story with an axe from top to bottom, leaving, like dark exposed rock, the raw emotions, the longings, and the horrors of dozens of individuals, and, out beyond them, of Israel, of the world, of ourselves. The top isn't always visible, it's often hidden in the clouds. Many people have spoken of their own life and trying to pray, think, speak, and write about the meaning of the death of Jesus. And to be honest, I think someday they can see it clearly, and on another day they can't. And here I speak for myself too. Mountains are like that. And so is theology. That doesn't mean you can't be sure that it's there and that it really matters. If you thought of some kind of mountain climbing, or you did that in your own life, only there when it wasn't shrouded in mist, you'd be making a bad mistake. The theories about why Jesus died, theories of the atonement, as they are called, are like maps or old photographs, taken from a distance. They may be accurate in their way, and they're helpful, particularly when it's cloudy and you can't see too much for the moment. But they're not the same thing as climbing to the top yourself, and perhaps if you're lucky, getting there on a clear day when you can see the view. When that happens, you will find you quickly run out of words to describe what you are looking at. As with any mountain, there are always people who try to climb it, who got halfway up, through better if of it, and came back to declare that it was impossible and not worth doing anyway. Some people, some within the church, or other people would do anything rather than stand at the top of this mile-high rock, looking squarely at that of Jesus in all its stark horror, and letting its beauty and terror captivate them forever. But believe me, it's worth it. And Matthew is a great guide, if we will let him take us step by step. The steps he shows us include a remarkable cast of characters, each of whom helps us a little way further toward the summit. Sometimes stories in the Gospels are really only about Jesus and one or two others, but these 2 chapters are swarming with extra people. We hear their voices, see them plotting and squabbling and pontificating and weeping. We sense their excitement and panic. their politicking and puzzlement, their shock and trauma and hatred and hope. Matthew allows each of them their say and keeps them in balance. The central characters like Caiaphas and Peter, the walk-on parts like Pilate's wife and the servant's girl who points at Peter, the dark figure of Judas and the angry blasphemer pair crucified alongside Jesus. They are all drawn into the drama of the central character whose fate towers over the whole crime. As you read this story, there will almost certainly be someone you can identify with, someone you can come alongside as we make our way up the rock face. Here, for a start, are several such characters in the opening verses. Each, as it were, is looking up with us at the wall of rocks, but from his or her own angle. Here are the chief priests and elders. For them, the death of Jesus is a political necessity. He has challenged their power. He has captured the crowd's imagination, and he can't be allowed to get away with it. They don't suppose for a minute he might be a true prophet, let alone Israel's Messiah. Their naked political goals, unadorned with any desire for true justice, or a constant feeder of the story. Do you know anything or anybody like that? Have you ever seen him or her in the mirror? Here is a dinner party, the Last Supper before the Last Supper. And here is an unnamed woman who loves, for Jesus has overflowed, quite literally in an act of needless beauty, like a stunning elfin flower growing unobserved half a mile up a rock face. Of course, some people always want to pick such flowers and make them to something useful, to grow them in a garden, at homes, perhaps to make a profit. God's creation isn't like that, and nor is devotion to Jesus. When people start to be captivated by him and by his path to the cross, the love this produces is giving the extravagance. Do you know anybody like that? Does he or she ever wear your shoes? Here's what I give you to reflect on. How do you react to the story of Jesus' death? Who do you identify with and why? This is your Pastor Yeti.